Hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Anna McCormack and I'm your chairperson for this meeting, No Sex Self-Identification in Queensland. I run the IWD Brisbane Meanjin Facebook page, and under that banner I organise events and groups to further the most important struggle I have ever been involved in my life. I've been involved since 2017 in learning more about and acting against an ideology that denies women exist. This is an existential struggle, and I've never been involved in such a struggle before. We meet on Aboriginal land. We recognise Aboriginal custodianship of this land over 60,000 years, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present and to come. We acknowledge the land was taken by force. As always, I acknowledge the women of the women's resistance who have struggled for liberation for thousands of years, and I acknowledge their leaders. I acknowledge many women, especially lesbians, have lost their lives in the women's resistance, and that today many of us, including me, have lost employment, friends, and political connections because we fight for women's rights and children's safeguards. And I say, we will never give in. Thank you to Kelly, our videographer, who's live streaming and recording for the IWD Brisbane Meanjin YouTube channel. No participants, except those of us at the front table, will be videoed. The panel discussion will not be videoed. Thank you to Helen, who's taking photographs for the IWD Brisbane Meanjin Facebook page. No participant wearing a burgundy ribbon will be photographed. Thank you to everyone who's worked for today, and a special thank you to the kitchen staff who've been allowed to leave their kitchen and join the rest of us. A particular thank you to the small group of women who met with me last weekend at my home at the end of a very nasty week that culminated in my booking at the Royal being cancelled. To Leah, Amanda, Helen and Sue, thank you. Toilets are to my right, and it's a transphobic, bigoted venue, so there are separate toilets for women and men. You will hear today from 5 well-informed, compassionate and wise women, experts in their fields all. You'll be able to ask them questions at the panel, and over afternoon tea you'll be able to engage them in discussion. I said 5 because that's what I'd written down. In fact, Edie Wyatt has sent her apologies. She's ill, so that you'll hear from 4 wonderful women. I'm confident you'll be inspired to take action to remedy injustice by the state, the corporations, and the brown shirts who threaten us, and threaten the original booked venue for this meeting, Royal on the Park, until the Royal felt they had no choice but to cancel my booking last Friday as a result of the threats. I hope you've bought lots of raffle tickets because the prizes are worth it. 2 lovely pieces of artwork by lesbian feminist artist Donna Malone form 1 raffle prize, and 2 current excellent books, one by Holly Lawford-Smith and one by Renee Gerlich, who's here with us today, form the other raffle prize. I am a left-wing woman with more than 40 years activist experience in a range of movements, from refugee advocacy to Latin American solidarity campaigns to union activism and women's abortion rights campaigns. And I have never felt so disgusted and so dismayed by the complete absence in the Brisbane left of any evidence-based analysis of women's oppression and the need to safeguard children. The abandonment of material analysis by left groups is an indication not that material analysis is flawed, but that what passes today for the left has given up on class struggle. Instead, it's embraced bourgeois notions of identitarianism. It's also embraced the anti-left practice of silencing the voices of dissent. And I would mention some examples in Brisbane of groups that have done this. Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Brisbane Retired Unionists, Every Solidarity Group in Brisbane, and the Communist Party of Australia. There is nothing socially just, progressive, or genuinely left about removing the rights of women, especially lesbians, and abandoning children's well-being and safety. Free speech has always been valued and advocated by those without power. Until the rise of gender ideology, the left had upheld the core value of free speech, sometimes half-heartedly, but now, as an adherent of gender ideology, the left is not half-hearted about free speech, it's actively opposed to it. It also actively excludes from its ranks radical and gender-critical feminists, and I know there are a few of us in this room today. Identity politics is anti-left because it avoids class. It denies sex class. Identity politics is essentially individualist. It replaces class analysis and class struggle with individual bullying, workplace punishment for stepping out of line by challenging groupthink, and I know a number of you in the room have endured that, expulsions from political groups, and loss of paid work. Women's rights are not regarded as important because women are not seen as fully human, and nor are children. We can see that in the refusal of our Attorney General and Minister for Women, Shannon Fentiman, to include women's groups in the consultations that are leading to the drafting of sex self-identification legislation. Shannon Fentiman and Premier Palaszczuk have told women we're not stakeholders in legislation that erases our rights and our existence. Sadly, not one Queensland Government MP accepted my invitation to attend today's meeting, and I invited them all, with the exception of the Greens. The ideology embraced by the Labor state government and what was the left is based on a set of lies. The lie that biology doesn't exist. The lie that gender dysphoria is a thing when it isn't. What is termed gender dysphoria is in fact body dysmorphia. The lie is also based on an avoidance of the extraordinary rise of porn, leading to increased numbers of autogynephiliac men who get off on notions of their own femininity and force their partners to play along with practices that objectify and dehumanize women. And the state can only continue to prosecute the lie by silencing us and cancelling us, pretending we don't exist, as the media does, and making us frightened to speak. We won't be frightened to speak. While we're experiencing huge setbacks in women's rights across the Western capitalist world, and while the resistors are small in number, we're on the grassroots ground floor of the rebirth of the women's movement. And that, my friends, is exciting. None of us can do everything to turn back this dangerous ideology that further entrenches capitalism and male supremacy, but all of us can do something. We can write to and meet with our state MPs. We can raise the issues in our community and church groups and school parent groups. We can learn by attending meetings like this one. And, if it's safe to do so, by attending street rallies.